It slowly began to snow again as Kojiro stared longingly at the road, waiting. It had gotten dark, with the skies being a mixture of purple and orange as the sun set. He wasn't moved. Oh, he hasn't moved a single muscle. His arms crossed over his chest. His mind was coursing with worry, wondering where his beloved Yin could be. Suddenly, he heard hooting, screech, and looked up to see Otsu's pet owl, Shiro, flying towards him. Reaching his arm out for the bird to land on, Kojiro noticed that Shiro seemed distressed. "Shiro," Otsu called as the owl looked towards his master. "Did you find Yin?" she asked, followed by more thrills and clicks. Shiro continued to flap its wings and screech as if telling them something urgent. "What's wrong, my friend?" Kojiro asked Shiro to start letting out clicks and thrills. "What's he saying?" Kojiro questioned, his brows furrowed. He knew that Shiro wasn't capable of human speech like the Kasakai crows, so it was difficult to understand what the owl was trying to tell him. "When he flaps his wings like this, it means something wrong," Otsu exclaimed, as the elderly woman began listening carefully to Shiro's clicks. "Hoo, hoo, 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 hoo." "A demon?" Otsu breathed out. "Hoo, hoo, 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 hoo." "A demon has Yin, and was seen heading west," Otsu exclaimed. Indeed, it was surprisingly amazing that she could understand Shiro's, as the owl nodded its head. Kojiro's eyes burned with fiery rage, inventing the depth of his emotions. The mere thought of a demon possessing his beloved Yin fills him with an overwhelming sense of dread and urgency. His heart raced as he realizes the intimate danger she faces. Every fiber of his being is consumed by a fiery determination to rescue her and protect her at all costs, despite the flames of anger within him flicker and dance, fueling his resolve to conflict and unleash his force that threatened to kill his beloved. Kojiro flashes his signature smile and turns towards Shiro. "Then lead the way, my friend." Meanwhile, you shifted slightly as your eyelids slowly fluttered open. Your vision became a little blurry as you gradually came to. What happened? You pondered in confusion. Though you felt no pain, there was still a faint ringing in your head as you tried to sit up. However, you found that you couldn't move. It felt like as you've been bound by something, and you immediately started to panic. Thoughts raced through your mind as you desperately tried to make sense of what had led you to this bewilderment, dependent. You strained your eyes, scanning the room for any clues that could shed light on your current state. The first thing you noticed was a burning fire coming from the iriri in the center of the room. The room around you appeared unfamiliar. It was dark, with an eerie silence that sent shivers down your spine. Glancing around, you noticed wooden walls and old soji windows. You're inside an abandoned house, it seems. It was then you realized that you were indeed tied up by a rope and started panicking slightly. What's going on? Questions flooded your mind, each one more perplexing than the last. Who could have done this to you? And more importantly, why? Your heart raced as you struggled against the restraints. However, the tightness of the rope only constricted your movements, leaving you feeling vulnerable and helpless. So the princess is finally awake. I heard a familiar voice, yet unsafe male voice. You glanced to see the boy you had met on the road, Hanasaka. Hanasaka? So you remember my voice. How thoughtful. He smiles at you. What's the meaning of this? You asked, still struggling against your restraint. And why am I tied up? Aww, you're so cute when you're clueless, princess. He chuckles darkly, causing you to stop and look at him. Huh? What's with the clingy nickname? Something was off. He didn't sound like the kind and friendly stranger you knew just a moment ago. His demeanor was rather unpleasant and carried a sinister aura. Huh? Haven't you figured it out by now? I'm a demon, you silly girl. He chuckles. Your heart beat heavily in your chest as the truth hit you like a wagon filled with bricks. Hanasaka is a demon? Fear immediately coursed through your blood as you realized the danger you were in. A demon? Your eyes widened as Hanasaka flashes you with sharp fangs. Yes, and for years I've been traveling from village to village, feeding off whatever little human I could find. However, no matter where I went, I always kept encountering those damn demon slayers. He explains, gritting his teeth. Once I learned that there were people living in the frozen mountain, I came here to Yukiyama, hoping to avoid encountering them and get a free meal, he exclaimed. All was good, and I even met others of my kind, and together we made Yukiyama our hunting grounds. Until that fucking flaming Dorito showed up and killed one of my brethren. He said it bitterly. Your eyes widened knowing that he was talking about Kojiro. Soon after, the old hag started putting up talismans, forcing me to camp outside the village and thus wait for prey to come to me. But I didn't have the patience. So, with my flute, I memorized my prey to fall asleep into my arms, he exclaimed, stepping closer and kneeling in front of you. And how lucky was I to snag such a lovely piece of meat like you. He caresses the side of your face. His words made you sick, and even with the flittant of struggle against your restraints, you weren't going to sit there and let him berate you like this. You spat in his face, causing Hanasuka to grunt in surprise, wiping his face, and smiled at you. He didn't seem to appreciate your bold move, and in retaliation, he reared his head back before backhanding you with enough force to make your brain rattle. If anything, you were accepted him to snap your neck. However, you never thought that he'd get a smack by a man, let alone a demon. You don't have to make this difficult, princess. I was actually thinking of letting you live, he said. Hatsasuka's eyes then widened as the ice began to form around you as the icicles abruptly stood up towards him, threatening to impale him. Reacting swiftly, he leaped backwards, skillfully evading your unexpected obsession move. Despite your efforts, the outcome is not as desired, as you realize that you have only succeeded in puncturing a small hole through Hakasaka's hori. Oh, so you're the infamous Yukiyama I heard so much about. And here I thought it was just an urban legend. Once again, with the lightning-fast reflexes, he effortlessly leaps backwards, narrowly avoiding the recent outslaw of sharp ice spikes hurling towards him. His laughter fills the air, mixing of amusement and satisfaction. As he reveals, in fact, of his actions, he successfully provoking the surge of anger within you. Well, the situation could have taken a different turn had you refrained from spitting in his face. The consequences of your despiteful act which includes him slapping you, could have been avoided altogether, sprawling both parties from the intent confirmation. You know, with that kind of power, you'll make a beautiful demon, and perhaps a lovely mate, he remarked. I'd rather lick dirt than become trash like you, you hissed. You're a monster. A monster, huh? Please. Humans kill each other and hunt animals for food. So what's the difference from what demons do to them? Hanasuka rolled his eyes. The way I see it, you and I are the same. We are all driven by our basic intent to survive. Whether it be human desire to protect their own, or the demons' need to nourish themselves. It is merely a matter of precipitation, isn't it? Screw you. I'm nothing like you. You contorted more ice spikes and hurled them towards him, hoping to impale him. You know, this is starting to get really boring, princess, he said, his voice filled with boredom as he effortlessly dodged your attacks once again and again. Frustration, you watched as he carefully landed on a nearby ledge, a malicious grin on his face. Perhaps you should chill out a little, he taunted, unable to contain his amusement at his own pun. Determined not to let him get inside your head, you took a deep breath and focused on your next move. However, before you could react, he pulls out his flute from seemingly out of thin air, his eyes twirling with mischief. How about a little music to set the mood? After all, soft music soothes the savage beast, Hanasuka said, placing the reel of his flute onto his lips and starting to play a new melody. It's a lot different from the last one he played. This time, you try to fight it, shaking your head frantically, trying your best to drown it out. However, the time only grew louder, and you found yourself unable to resist its enchanting allure. The melody seemed to possess an hypnosis quality, beckoning you into a world unknown. Each delicate sound resounded with a sense of iteration, as if whispering secrets that only the music itself knew. Try as you might, you wouldn't escape the melody's grasp as it held you firmly in its melodic web. Eventually, you found yourself growing weak as you gradually succumbed to an overwhelming visage. Your mind became fuzzy and your vision began to blur, as though a thin veil of mist settled over your eyes. It was as if your very existence was slowly dissipating, akin to a distant secret of butter melting under the warmth of a settled sun. The gentle within your worn, leaving you feeling vulnerable and powerless. Hanasuka stopped playing and smirked. Now that he had you succumbed, he no longer had to worry about you attacking him with your fruitile ice spikes. He couldn't help but lick his lips, capable by the way you approached so effortlessly submissive and tamed. Completely under the spell of his mesmerizing melody. For a simple-minded human, he couldn't deny the undeniable truth that you are indeed quite pretty. The way your beauty radiated effortlessly enchanted him. Had this demon's blood singing. With a malicious grin spreading across his face, he couldn't help but let his voice drip with a hint of sickening as he spoke. Your beauty enchants me, princess. Leaping down from the edge, he starts to sojourn towards you. As much as you wanted to attack him again or much even scream, you couldn't. Whatever hypnotic melody he played had you frozen under his venomous gaze as your colored eyes widened in horror. When he then pulled out his flute, revealing it to be a hidden wakizashi. However, since you refused to become a demon, I guess I'll chop you up into little choice cuts and eat you, he remarks. Such a shame to think I was actually starting to like you. Liar. Your eyes widened as anxiously crept deep into your stomach. No, Gods, no. It can't possibly end like this. For the first few steps Hanazuka took, the sharp edge of his blade glistened maliciously in the light. All to the aforementioned, the overwhelming fear inside you, of you, as you can do anything but scream for help. Crash! Startled by the loud sound, both you and Hanazuke looked towards the entrance to see a furious-looking flame Hashira, as wild burning eyes glared at your associate with a furious rage. Let her go.